Okay, let's have a look at some fractions. Fractions are parts of whole numbers, and we have two sections to our fraction. We have our numerator, which is our top number, and our denominator, which is our bottom number. So you need to understand that language. So basically what's happening is this numerator is always being divided by the denominator. When you think of the fraction 1/2, you've got 1 whole divided by 2. So the line, the bar in the middle of the fraction, means divided by. Here's some kids with some lollies. Now, they have 12 each. Abby puts hers into 4 piles, and she actually eats 2 of the piles. So she's eaten 2 out of 4. Libby puts hers into 2 piles and eats 1 of them. So Libby's actually eaten half, 1 out of the 2. Chrissy puts hers into 6 piles and eats 3 piles of them. So she's eaten 3 out of the 6. Let's have a look at how many lollies they've each got. They've got 6 each. So even though these fractions look different, we call them equivalent because they're talking about the same amount. So when we started off with 12, 2 out of 4 meant we had 6, 1 out of 2 meant we had 6 lollies, and 3 out of 6 meant we had 6 lollies. So they are all equivalent, they all equal one another. So when I take my fraction of my half and I cut it up into smaller sections, that's another way of looking at these kinds of fractions. So if I had 3, so 1, 2, 3 out of the 6 pieces, so mathematically if I divide the top and bottom by 3, I end up with the fraction 1/2, and you can see clearly that that half of the circle is coloured in and it's the same size as the 3 out of 6. Another way of looking at it is if I start with the half, I could times the top and bottom by 3 and I get the 3 out of 6 pieces. So as long as I'm doing the same to the top and the bottom, I still end up with an equivalent fraction talking about the same amount. So that's our definition of equivalent fractions, or how to get them. So we multiply or divide the numerator and denominator by the same number. So here's an example of equivalent fractions. The other types of fractions we have proper fractions, and we need to understand that our numerator, the top number, is smaller than the bottom number. When our fractions are called improper, it's the other way around. So the top number, the numerator, is bigger than the bottom number. When we have mixed numerals, we always have some kind of whole number and a fraction. All of these can be in negatives as well. So I could have had -2 1/4. It's still a mixed numeral. You need to note that any whole number, so for example here, the number 5, can be written as a fraction as 5 over 1. So 10 is 10 over 1. 15 is 15 over 1, like that. So if we have a question and we want to go, how many halves are there in 4 1/2? Basically we get our 4 1/2. We make sure we cut all of our wholes into halves and we can count them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 halves in there. So that can be written as 9 out of 2. So we need to be able to work out mathematically how we can change that form of the mixed numeral into our improper fraction form without having to draw pictures every time. So basically we do that changing to our improper fractions by multiplying the denominator by the whole number, the denominator here, the 4 times the 5, and then we add on the numerator. So the 4 times the 5 plus 3, that becomes 23. That's our new top number, so it's 23 out of 4. When we're changing to mixed numerals, going back the opposite way, we use the idea of how this line again means division. So divide the numerator by the denominator. 13 divided by 4. Well, 13 divided by 4 is 3 with a remainder of 1. So the whole number is this here, is the answer to the division, and the remainder is what goes on top of our fraction. Okay, you can see that the denominators of both kinds always stay the same. The other thing we have to be able to do is simplify our fractions, and we just divide them by the highest common factor. So you look for the biggest number that can go into both of your numbers there. So for this one, you can divide by 5. That's our highest common factor. So 20 divided by 5 is 4, 35 divided by 5 is 7. So that's our answer, 4 out of 7. So remembering whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. And we call these fractions now equivalent fractions, the 4 out of 7 and the 20 out of 35. We also need to know how to order fractions. Now sometimes you can look at a fraction and go, oh, I know, like if it was like 3/4 and 2/3, you could draw them on the circle and see which one looks bigger, or you can think which one's closer to 0. If you can't see it clearly, then you need to put them all over the same denominator. So for this one, we're looking for a number that 6, 3, 8, 12, and 4 all go into, and that's called our lowest common denominator. You want to find the smallest number that they all go into. So in this case, it's 24. So once I've decided it's 24, I take each fraction, so see either 5 over 6, and I go, I have to times it by 4 to turn the denominator into 24, so whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. My 2/3 I need to times by 8. My 5/8 I need to times by 3. 11/12 I need to times by 2. And my 3/4 I need to times by 6. So this new fraction that I've got written in the blue here helps us to order them. Because once the numbers are the same on the bottom, we just go, okay, the smallest number then is the one with the smallest number on top. So that would be the 15 out of 24. The biggest number will have the biggest number on top. So when you look through these, it's the 22 out of 24. So when we put them in order though, even though this is the smallest, we write what the question was asking, which is the 5 on 8. So 15, and then 16 goes next, so we write 2 on 3. After 16 goes 18, so we write 3/4. After the 18 goes the 20, so that is the 5/6. And then the last one is the 11 on 12. So just looking at another example, this one now is in descending order. So the lowest common multiple, the smallest number that all the denominators go into, would be 20. So in the first one, times by 5, top and bottom. Second one, the first one was times by 10 on the top and bottom. The second one times by 5. Third one times by 4, times by 2. And that one's already over 20, so we don't have to change it. If we put those in descending order, which is going down, we'll go like that. So the 5, the 6, the 10, 11, the 12, so the descending order from biggest to smallest. And then we go, okay, well 12 over 20, that's 3/5. 11 out of 20, that's that one. 10 out of 20 is the half. So you write it back with the question, answering the question that you were given.